Hi guys, good afternoon. Just gone past midday here in London, the 24th of August, last full week of trading of the month. The S&P new high, 34.20, currently trading, smashing through that previous February all-time high, and that continues to rise, as you can see, up around about 27 points on the day, finishing just below there last Friday. But a small gap higher on the Sunday open has led to a push on and on and on. We are just pausing for breath around the R2 today. I would certainly keep a watch should we get any retracement back to these previous highs that we have had today. This market seems to like the idea of buying a dip. Do we get one later today or not? We'll have to wait and see, but up nicely to begin that week. Of course, the Nasdaq is following suit on a current all-time high as well. The Dow Jones, worth keeping a watch on here. This looks a bit more interesting as we're, just playing catch up to the other two. But that is currently above the most recent high that we had on the 11th of August. But also this double bottom that we had around here. I think this was January the 8th and then the 31st before we broke through. So keep a watch on that where we close. Do we have a strong week and actually start thinking about filling that gap closer to 29,000? That's something I would keep a watch on for these equities. Where we finish the day will ultimately be very key. Moving over to currencies, the risk on that we've seen, the way the dollar pairs finished last week, you could be forgiven for thinking we're going to have a big sell-off. That hasn't been the case, and the risk on has helped us push higher here for the euro. Keep a watch, though, you would say, just around that pivot area. Also, the low that we had on Thursday, for me, is a key point that if we are to see a reversal of this morning move, below the pivot could well be the point that the dollar starts to strengthen again. As long as we hold above there, just keep a watch on some of these previous levels of what are now going to be resistance. 118.54 looks pretty solid. You can see there on Thursday offered a good area of support before we break through. Almost tested that this morning, and then also around the R1 today, it looks like a pretty good level where you would want to de-risk, and potentially sellers would look to get in as well. You've seen similar price action for the pound, although it is struggling just a bit to get above that pivot, but you can see the importance of the lows of the day around that 130.70 handle. Just so good as an area since the 17th where the buyers have stepped in. If we do push below there, just be aware that you've got a solid level support, a tiny bit below that at 130.49 before that 130 handle comes in. Key line in the sand, well, to the downside we've already marked it up. To the upside, it does, in fairness to me, just look a bit more choppy, but I would probably have it more as a bit of a zone, and using this area here, you can see we've then broke through, found a bit of support before breaking through. Did get choppy, but that 131.50 for me would be an area I'd certainly keep a watch on, and might be worth just holding off either way. The risk on that we've seen, the dollar weakness that we've seen has, also say the risk on hasn't impacted gold. The dollar weakness has led us to push a bit higher, albeit slightly limited, but you can see that key level here just before that R1 is going to be one to focus on, coming in on the futures around 1963. I would expect a bit of resistance around there before, if that was to break, looking back towards that 1980 and above region, where we did break down on the 19th throughout the day, which of course was the morning before those minutes that we had. Quick look over the Aussie dollar, you'd expect that to be pushing higher, and that is. However, that's just come into some important resistance, so keep a watch on that as well. The pivot to me as well looks like a good enough area of what now turns to be support. Do we push on into the afternoon, or do we retrace a bit? The dollar pairs are in for an interesting week. It just might be that risk on is the reason that they can't quite sell off like we saw into the last couple of days.